Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to Wednesday Night Insights because we are back once again to recap all of the goings on across the NFL. And finally, we have a lot of news to talk about. It's been a while waiting and waiting and waiting for some of these organizations to really get their stuff together and make a hire. Not all of them were correct, but they're all done. And that's a good thing. Gives us something to talk about. Of course, as always, joined by at Donald McJordan and at that FF nerd, Jordan McDonald and Jason Draven.
We're here.
Oh yeah.
We got to enjoy some of the Pro Bowl. I was a fan, but that's because
enjoy.
Hey, Herbert dominated. Okay, that's all I cared about. Derwin James came up with a nice pick. I love it.
Do you see Darius Leonard set the tone right away? Pick 6 off Kyler Murray, and then after that, he deleted everything Arizona Cardinals off his social media.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on that. I wonder if they're going. He has a new deal with a identity fraud or something, and so it's like, oh, what could happen, kind of a thing, and it's going to be a Super Bowl commercial.
That's my theory. It's either A, a Super Bowl commercial, or B, the Cardinals are releasing new uniforms.
You guys are going deep
contract,
on this.
yeah, or contract extension.
I think I don't know why. Outside looking in, I don't see why he would be upset. Is he upset with Kingsbury because he's a fraud, he's a grifter, or because they gave him everything he really needs to succeed? But I don't know. It is interesting. I don't know. I think he's disgruntled. I don't think it's anything what you guys think it is. I don't think it's a ploy or it's for some marketing purposes.
I'm sure he's a little bit disgruntled there, but I also think, is Instagram really where he's gonna go to make that known?
He didn't make. He just did it. People figure that stuff out. It's not like he comes out and he's like, "I have unfollowed the Arizona Cardinals." Somebody figured that out and released.
He never followed the Arizona Cardinals, though, according to reports.
The fix is in.
We're making a mountain out of a molehill right now. Maybe not even a molehill, an anthill. Let's wait until.
Is that a short joke?
Oh, let's wait until 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. Then we can start talking.
I mean, okay, first off, do we think that the Cardinals are going to franchise tag him, or do you think that he's actually going to start his contract talks and get a contract done before next year?
Oh,
I think they still have to decide on his 5th year, though. So franchising isn't really going to happen until after next season. So we'll see. I guess the window is open to negotiate. These things usually don't happen right away.
Yeah, he's going to be an Arizona Cardinal at least through the franchise tag. He's got his 5th year that he's going to pick up. So after next season, they'll probably start negotiating because he's going into his 4th year?
His 4th year. So they have to make it's a slam dunk. They're not gonna.
They're gonna give him the Lamar Jackson.
They'll give him.
Lamar Jackson, he's heading into his 5th year. Exact same situation. Doesn't matter. He's playing on that 5th year. He's probably going to get a contract extension. And reports are he's looking for $40 million a year, more than Dak Prescott. He wants to be in that top 3 tier at quarterback money.
I think he deserves it.
Does he, though?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, he's doing fine with what he's been given, but man, I would expect more out of quarterback.
What do you mean?
Get more wins, get more. I mean,
did you see the hero ball that he played all season when he was active? And
yeah,
he was hurt this season. It was an ankle injury on a pocket pass when a player on the Cleveland Browns went low. It's the contract talks, no, for Kyler. I don't know, Mason. No one knows. It doesn't matter. It's a point.
Well, let me just say, just based on my experience, watching Lamar Jackson look like Tom Brady in that Colts game, proved to me that he's worth all the money he wants. Like, he was like a surgeon going down that field. Now, that could have been the Colts' soft zone defense, and we'll get into Matt Eberflus with the Bears. But I think he deserves it, and he's multi-dimensional with his legs, and I think that he'll get what he deserves.
Yeah, the Lamar Jackson is at the very worst, top 5. Give him top 3 money. Kyler Murray, he can wait another year before he gets his contract extension. Moving on with the Ravens, though, they did promote Sashi Brown to team president after Dick Cass retired, which we love Sashi Brown, the analytics king of the Cleveland Browns. We believe in Sashi Brown. So that's just another nice little thing to happen here. And what else do we have going on here? Well, I think we've kind of rambled enough randomly throughout the show. It's time to talk about these coaches that have been hired. Let's talk about the real news. Let's start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, if Kyler gets $40 million a year, how much will Jungle Joe get after he gets his ring? So Joe Burrow, he's got a while. Actually, I don't know. They may give him the Patrick Mahomes treatment and give him an extension immediately.
Or the Justin Herbert treatment,
What Justin Herbert treatment?
They're on the same path.
Well, he makes a good point, though. If the Bengals do win the Super Bowl, there's no reason why they should have a deal done before the 5th year even kicks in. I don't know if they void it, though. I don't know how that would work if they decide to.
It's written into it. So the way it works is after your 3rd season, you can negotiate a new contract. You can start it. You can sign it. But no matter what, you still have through that 5th year. So they can pay you more.
So it is through the 5th year. So what if they negotiate a deal before the deadline and not give him the 5th year, but it goes right into the new deal? If you know what I mean?
We're playing with semantics at that point.
Yeah,
basically,
that's true.
The team can say, hey, we're going to give you... It's all moving money around in ways that we don't understand.
Also, just with Paul Brown and stuff, I could see them doing that, getting an extra year out of Joe Burrow on a rookie deal, paying him, $15 million rather than $40 million that season. But who knows? That's still 3 seasons away.
I think Joe Burrow is going to get whatever he wants. I think as soon as he's eligible, they'll sign him to a mega deal, possibly on Patrick Mahomes' level, if not just slightly below. But as I keep saying, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the entire NFL. Now, don't roll your eyes. It's true, Jason. Smokin' Joe is the face of the NFL.
So we've gone from Joe Burrow's going to be the 2022 MVP to now he's going to be the face of the NFL. So,
well, no, he already is the face of the NFL, and he's going to prove it when he wins the Super Bowl. Prove it again when he wins MVP in 2022. How can you bet against Smokin' Joe? We love our little socialist king. I don't know if you saw the pictures of him with the prom king at his high school. It was absolutely heartwarming. Just a good guy, an even better quarterback. We stan Joe Burrow. He's going to get all the money that he can ask for, but we're not here to gush about Joe Burrow just yet. We can talk about that a little bit later. But Jacksonville Jaguars, they need to get their situation right. I know Trevor Lawrence was no Joe Burrow coming out of college, but he was pretty close there. So they need a head coach to accentuate Trevor Lawrence. They've landed Doug Marrone. He was a good decision. I'm happy with it.
You mean Doug Peterson?
Oh, sorry. Doug Peterson, yes.
I was
Doug
that's
Marrone
a bad
is on
decision.
We'll get to Doug Marrone later. He's back with the Saints. If Joe Burrow grows a mustache, he would be my dad, and I'm 8 years older than him. Joe Burrow's already your dad, Mason. I'm sorry to tell you that. He is all of our dads here at Important Nonsense.
He's also
Jaguars.
old.
Doug Peterson, head coach, not Doug Marrone. Not going back to that. Right decision, right head coach, wrong reason, I would say.
What do you mean wrong reason?
They picked him because Byron Leftwich.
Okay, that's where I thought you were going. Yeah, because I was saying that's who I wanted, but I think that him renouncing his candidacy, Doug Peterson, was the right decision.
If
totally
they
agree.
right off the bat said, "Nope, Doug Peterson's our guy. Sorry, Byron," I would have respected it. I would have disagreed. I think Byron was the correct decision, but you couldn't have argued with it. Now it just feels as though, well, we messed up. Here's our backup plan.
So like the Texans.
It's not even the Texans' backup plan.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
No, I think this is an okay hire. I think you're going to see it really end up. I'm looking at fantasy already. I could care less about anything else. So when I look at fantasy,
this is all through a fantasy lens. I talk about the news. You guys bring it back to the meat and potatoes of fantasy football.
I think this really actually, depending on if he is still there, James O'Shaughnessy becomes a huge option.
Oh my god,
I love it. Oh. I'm all about the tight end here. Etienne
what happens when they draft a tight end in the first or second round?
It's going to be a backup. It's going to end up. You'll see it exactly like Ertz and Goddard, and it's going to be a mess for a little bit. But I'm okay with that.
What if they bring in Ertz?
That is also an option.
Like, I hope not.
He has been linked already to them, as well as the Chargers, which I don't think they'll pay for him, which is more of my issue. But I wouldn't mind Ertz being the option that goes to the Chargers as their tight end. But
so what you're saying though is the TE1 of this team will be fantasy relevant.
Absolutely. Well, what wide receivers do they have? That's the big issue. When I go to looking at Doug Peterson and his Eagles team, he really focused on the tight ends being the option for Carson Wentz in Philadelphia.
Abolish the tight end position. Mason Cameron is absolutely correct. And he's going to get a double correct because fire Trent Baalke. I agree with that as well. Good news with Doug Peterson, though, is they are surrounding Trevor Lawrence with a quality staff. We've got Mike McCoy, who stunk as a head coach. Let's be real. But
thank you.
If you want to put him as a QB coach, he can get that done. It's the Peter principle.
Has he proven it to anybody though? That's the real question. Has he proven that he can really build up a quarterback?
It's not going to hurt to have him in the room is all I'm saying. You give him lowest in the pecking order because his boss is Jim Bob Cooter, who, again, lots of experience around the NFL with Peyton Manning and Matthew Stafford. Bad offensive coordinator, but he was fine in that kind of position early in his career. And then you look at the defense, they've got Mike Caldwell, the Buccaneers inside linebackers coach, and they've hired defensive line coach Brenton Buckner from the Cardinals, and Bills' former special teams coordinator Heath Farwell, former player too. They've all signed as well. So they're at least putting together experience around Trevor Lawrence, and that's really what the Jaguars need, right? Is experience, stability, any semblance of an organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good move overall, but again, they need to bring in a wide receiver. They need to work on their defense, which actually showed up at times, but there is a spark there.
Bringing DJ Chark back, bringing in a wide receiver.
He's not dominant enough. I like the talent, but again, you need somebody who is going to be there for your quarterback, and it wasn't Chark.
Are we going to have another offseason of like Laviska Shenault's breakout season?
No, it's going to be James O'Shaughnessy. I just said that.
No, it's not though. You're going to be the only one beating that drum,
and I'll beat it all day. That's what
yeah.
Why the love for the unathletic tight ends that have never done anything in their entire damn career?
Yeah, like Dan Arnold's still there, so
yeah, and if Dan Arnold's there and healthy, I'm perfectly fine pumping him up. But it all depends on who's going to be there. Because I'm going to love whatever tight end it is there. Because all I can think of right now is James O'Shaughnessy, Chris Manhertz, and Dan Arnold, which I'm okay with. At least the first two. Not so much Manhertz. He's
goodness.
You know what I'm excited? I'm excited for the ranking summit when we go to the Jaguars. There's going to be some very contentious discussions about touchdown and yards distribution coming from Jason.
Between the running backs, more importantly. That's going to be a big mess.
But that will be an interesting discussion because we don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know what kind of plans Doug Peterson will have for ATN.
Well, I think it's really going to be based on who is actually a better pass catcher because
It's
he
Etienne.
had Sanders. It's Etienne. Okay.
Yeah. No,
So,
Etienne.
The workhorse going to be Robinson, and Etienne's going to be the one who's catching the balls from the backfield. That makes sense.
Etienne had one of the most prolific college resumes when it comes to pass catching that we've seen in quite some time. He had over 40 receptions in his final season at Clemson. That's incredible for a running back. My threshold for running backs is a reception and a half per game. If you can do that, I love it for a college running back. 40 receptions from Travis Etienne? Oh, get out of here. Travis Etienne is going to be a star. And the Dolphins are hoping that Mike McDaniel can turn Tua Tagovailoa into a star as well.
At least he has some background. I mean, that I think helps. But again, I'm expecting a lot of it to be more impact. I'm curious if they bring in a running back. I think that's what this team is really missing. And I think that he is going to be the one that's going to be the key piece they really need for this team.
Could they bring in a running back that Mike McDaniel has worked with in the past? Maybe Raheem Mostert?
Oh, yeah. Get the Will Fuller treatment, play 2 games, and then spend the rest of it on IR.
Oh, my God.
Well, to be fair to Raheem Mostert, it sounded as though the 49ers thought he could have played through the injury, and Mostert said, no, if I do that, then I'm getting surgery in January, and I'm not healthy for the season. No, I'm getting the surgery now and cashing in free agency.
I don't think he's gonna get that much. I would be so frightened to sign this guy. He's had a great story, and man, did he play well with them, the 49ers, for that entire 2019 season. But I mean, running backs dime a dozen. Like you could pick up another guy who might be a little bit more, durable and run with that. And they have a decent crop. Like, I mean, maybe they'll go committee still. They got Gaskin, they got Ahmed, I think, if he's still there.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's going to end up being.
And you could draft a guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of options that you're going to see, and I'm just curious about how it ends up breaking down because that's definitely going to be a focus for him, no matter if it's free agency or the draft.
Yeah, and one of the things I am excited for, though, with Mike McDaniel is the way the 49ers run their offense. That's what Tua does well. It's these precision throws to allow the receiver to catch and run. It's like Deebo Samuel. That's going to make Jalen Waddle. He's going to be phenomenal. He's already going in the 4th, 5th round in drafts, and he might end up going even higher by the time summer's done. Jalen Waddle is going to be very popular, but Tua Tagovailoa is being compared to a more accurate Jimmy Garoppolo by a lot of people. So why not Tua and this Dolphins offense to take a step forward?
I mean, I think it's going to actually be. I'm more curious to see about Gesicki here because it really depends on how they utilize him and if they decide to keep a second wide receiver.
You didn't know, do you? He's a free agent.
Well, yeah, but that's what he means. Like if they decide to bring him back,
or if they decide to sign or bring in somebody else. I just don't. I'm more curious to see who they end up bringing in there because if it's a blocking tight end, you'll see a lot more of the run game. But if it's somebody that has the talent of Gesicki or they keep Gesicki, it's going to be a whole nother weapon that is involved.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to bring in nobody, and Jason's going to try and sell us on Durham Smythe. That's what's going to...
No. It's going to be Hunter Long, the 3rd round out of Boston College, who I am a big fan of. Yes.
That'll work out.
Hunter Long. He is a classic Y tight end, capable of catching and blocking, whereas Gesicki is just an F tight end, a big slot, a wide receiver in tight end clothing. Jason, there are other positions on the field besides tight end.
I know, but it's vital for the offense here, especially with what they're going to be planning with Mike McDaniel and his genius. They'll need to figure that out. They'll have to have a tight end that's going to be a George Kittle-esque type of a player who's willing to put it out there for his quarterback and his team.
It is fair in this case because Hunter Long is going to be a star in the NFL one of these days. Jalen Waddle, though, to the absolute moon. And Davis Mills is looking pretty in terms of a value at this point because Lovie Smith is the head coach of the Houston Texans, which unfortunately I don't think means they're taking this too seriously. They're still in their rebuild phase because as great as Lovie Smith was with the Chicago Bears, when he went to Tampa Bay, it was horrific. And when he went to Illinois, it was even worse. So I don't know how this is going to pan out. I'm excited for him. It's unfortunate that Brian Flores would have got this job if not for the lawsuits.
Won't know. We're not going to know. I still don't think he would have taken the job just based on what happened in Miami, like based on what we heard in the lawsuit, because he'd just be doing the same thing. He'd be going to a team that wants to lose. Like, let's not kid ourselves.
This is true.
I don't think that there was really any job that would have been great for
I think
him.
the Saints would have been fine. But you know what? Like
no quarterback. That's a glaring issue for the Saints right now. Is they have Taysom Hill as really the only option there, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, and there's a lot of question marks with the roster overall. But I still think that was the best landing spot based on what was available. But whatever. We'll hope Flores falls on hopefully the next head coaching cycle next season. Hopefully he's back in the mix. We don't know. We'll have to see what happens with this lawsuit though. Like that's still got to be resolved.
Yeah, I hope he does find a home. But in terms of Lovie Smith, this means they're going in for the hard rebuild. They're going for a entire culture reset, which isn't a bad thing. Lovie Smith will be able to do that. He will be able to turn this into an adult franchise instead of the playground BS we've seen for the past couple years in Houston. So that's good news. And it's good news because Davis Mills is going to get another chance to start. And it's even better news because Pep Hamilton is going to be the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I'm excited for Mills again this year. I mean, I liked what I saw from him. I liked a lot of the options. I really hope that they can get him a better line or a more stable running back or something. They need something there that will help him because Brandon Cooks is not the only option.
Or you're not going to pump the tires on Brevin Jordan?
I mean, I played around with it last year, and while he had a few games, it's not something that I trust.
That's where you draw the line. You're all over James O'Shaughnessy, and
I've seen it from James though. That's the difference.
Jordan.
That's the difference. I've seen it from O'Shaughnessy. I haven't seen
rookie.
When did you see it from O'Shaughnessy?
Have you guys not been watching or seeing his fantasy points? He's fine. It's one of those things that if
he's fine in the sense where he gets you 7 PPR points,
and that's what matters.
Well,
no, doesn't.
At the tight end position,
that's
yes,
his ceiling though. That's his ceiling.
It's
and
not
that's
his ceiling because he can catch a touchdown.
But how many touchdowns did he have
last year?
I watched, and I watched a lot more Jaguars games than anybody really should last year, and he was like non-existent at most games. Like I don't know, I'd have to look back to see how many games he actually played, but he was not really a factor. To be fair, that whole Jaguars team sucked, so it wasn't really his fault. But
yeah, the only beautiful thing about the Jaguars team was James Robinson. So, and that took a lot.
Yeah.
And that's when he was trying to fight for his job because the dumbass coach wanted Carlos Hyde to get more carries, but
correct.
Oh, Urban Meyer, we hardly knew ye. And there were people defending him on Twitter recently that he was a better head coach than than they're going to have with Doug Peterson, but they're also a Giants fan, so they were pretty biased in that regard. Closing things out, though, with the new head coach hires. Dennis Allen is the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. We all knew this was going to be coming.
Yeah, it's no surprise.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen. Well, and I mean, he should be. That defense was the only reason the Saints won games last year. Let's be honest. And the fact that he was able to do that with really minimal offense is pretty. He shut down Tom Brady, and that just like blew my mind.
Twice.
Yeah, but he literally goose egged him, which isn't something that happens to Brady.
But he not
9
only this year, he did that last year too.
Yeah, and that's just, if anybody deserves it, it's him. And I just am terrified for that defense. Like they're going to be so good, and just the fact that if they
can
find,
get a
if they can
quarterback.
find an offense, it's going to be even better because they'll actually get to rest.
Yeah, if they can find a quarterback to keep them off the field even a little tiny bit. It will be interesting, though, because Dennis Allen failed pretty epically with the then Oakland Raiders. But that was a big period of transition. There was an ownership change. There was all this talk about moving to Las Vegas. There was a lot going on at that time with the Raiders. So maybe, as I've talked about, people deserve second chances. And maybe this is one of the situations where it does work out for the Saints. Although hiring Doug Marrone to play a key role in the offense is not promising to me. Now, he was the Alabama offensive line coach. And if that's all he does is offensive line coach and run game coordinator, great. Perfect. He can do that all he wants. But if you make him OC, help us all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point, I don't think it really matters as much, just because there's so many pieces that are just questionable. I mean, it's making me nervous for this offense, but a rebuilding year could make
Michael
something
Thomas
happen.
might be on his
Yeah.
way out.
There's gonna be a lot of roster turnover.
Alvin Kamara might
yeah.
be suspended at least for some portion of the season after being arrested immediately after the Pro Bowl for battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. And the assault happened, I believe, the night before the Pro Bowl as well. So it's the it's bad enough, the assault, but the context surrounding it is a black eye on the NFL, especially with all of the issues they've been having in Las Vegas with the franchise there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. Ultimately, though, it is the NFL. So
Poorly.
We're expecting one game, 4
max. That's kind of where I was at. I'm like, he's probably going to miss a game.
That's my prediction, unfortunately.
It's just Roger Goodell and some of the stuff that he is trying to backtrack, and it's so frustrating that he is so blatantly not caring about the NFL or anything that's going on, that's whether it's illegal action or whatever. It's just a complete black mark that he just pushes under the rug and nobody cares about. And it's just so frustrating as somebody who, like, we clearly care about the NFL way too much because, you know, it's fake football to us because all we're looking at is points and numbers. But some of this stuff is so frustrating when you're seeing all these players that are having issues off the field and that, oh, it's not that big a deal. We don't really care. It's just extremely frustrating. I mean, he came out today talking about the whole Brian Flores and realizing that, oh, we really don't have enough diversity in our staffing. You think? Like, what are you doing? You can easily implement stuff that help you move this along, and yet here you are.
I don't want to defend the NFL, but I'll just say that it is an issue with coaching. But for GMs, I think we're starting to see some progress because this season we saw with the Vikings, they hired somebody of color. Last year, 3 GMs of color got hired in Cleveland, in Detroit, and in Atlanta. So we're seeing it there. But the thing is, you don't see the GMs when you turn on a game. They don't show the GM maybe once, if that, during a game. You see the coach 10 plus times, and that's the face really of the team in terms of like the executive side or the staffing side. And that's what they want. They want representation in that sense, and it's been failing.
Yeah. When we do now have 3 black coaches in the NFL, we have Mike Tomlin, who had to put in his dues over a long career and it's impossible to fire because he keeps winning. We have Lovie Smith, who
recently got promoted.
recently was promoted and might be setting up for failure. And the other candidate is Mike McDaniel, who does come from a mixed race family and read Mike McDaniel's story is what I'll say. He puts his own experience into great words about how he wasn't accepted by anyone really. I'll let him tell his own story, but that's it. That's all the NFL has in terms of the face of the NFL. And it's
Well, and
disappointing.
like you said, I mean, they're going to have Joe Burrow be the face of the NFL, and I don't understand why. I mean, Mahomes has been great. That is somebody that I really think should be a face. He's mixed. It's perfect, and I mean, it will appease all of the extremely white people because he's just white enough that it's fine. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating.
It's ridiculous that these conversations even have to take place because the NFL refuses to talk about any of it. And so, looking at the head coaching hires, though, and the candidates that were selected, remember, we have Nathaniel Hackett from for the Denver Broncos, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. We have Matt Eberflus, formerly of Jordan's Colts, and now with the Bears. Mike McDaniel, who we've talked about, formerly of the Niners, now with the Dolphins. Brian Daboll with the Giants, formerly of the Bills. And then the people we've talked about, obviously. And Vikings will hire Kevin O'Connell after the Super Bowl. So, how do we feel about all of these head coaching hires? How would you guys rank the head coaches that were hired?
So what do you mean rank? Like, are you saying ranking as in how I like them, how I think they're going to perform, or is it like
Your opinion of the hire, from the best hire to the worst hire?
I'm not going to rank them. Like, I'll discuss. I think I agree with you. Like, if you want to share your list, and then I'll.
Yeah, I think the number one is very clear here.
It's
Just
Brian
because
Daboll.
the situation, what is offered there, the talent, and what I really think he's going to be able to do, I think is just a huge stepping stone for Brian to actually be able to do what he wants and make this team something that is worthy of the NFL.
Yeah, the work he's done with Josh Allen has been phenomenal. The innovations with the pass first offense has been lovely to see. So, very excited about what Brian Daboll can do running his own franchise. Number 2 for me was a tough decision. And I ultimately went with Matt Eberflus over Doug Peterson because I don't like how the Jaguars got there. If they had hired Doug Peterson right away, said he's our guy, great decision. Former Super Bowl winning head coach. You can't fault it in the slightest. But they hedged, they hesitated, and that's not something you want to see. And so I put Matt Eberflus in the Bears at that number 2 spot just because it seems as though that's an organization with a vision, with a consistent plan ahead. That's why I have Matt Eberflus at 2 ahead of Doug Peterson at 3.
I actually have Nathaniel Hackett as my second.
Okay.
I really like the hire. I think that it's definitely part of a bait to try and get Rodgers to come. But again, I think that he has a solid offensive scheme that'll work well, especially in Denver. I think it was a good hire overall. And then for 3, I actually went with Kevin O'Connell.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even rank Kevin O'Connell, did I? I did.
So that was my 2 and 3, just because I again, he either will end up picking up a nice quarterback option or he'll keep Cousins either way. And I think that's a huge benefit for that offense as a whole to really take a step forward from what it's been doing.
Yeah, I'll give my 3. That's a good idea. Daboll's number 1, just based on what we saw with Josh Allen, and can he fix Daniel Jones? And in this case, like this is legitimately Daniel Jones' last shot. I don't even know if they'll give him the 5th year.
No, probably
This is like a
not.
do or die for him. If he can't learn the system, I think he will bring in Trubisky or somebody to challenge him, which is hilarious that this is what Trubisky is doing now. Whereas they did that when he was in Chicago. Whatever. Matt Eberflus for me. I'll say this every goddamn time we do this. I have nothing against Matt Eberflus, but that hire for me did not really excite me at all. Like, yeah, you're got a decent defense, but the offense is the question. So who is running that offense? Have they found somebody? Have they brought an OC? Are they going to design an offense to maximize Justin Fields' strength? I don't know about that. That's why I can't rank him that high.
That was my issue as well, is the
Yeah.
fact that I think that defense is going to be set. I think they're going to make the right moves. That defense is going to be solid. But Fields, I need them to develop Fields. I need them to get better options. Then they need to have an offensive attack. Otherwise, it's going to be Eberflus in 2 or 3 years, and he's done.
Nathaniel Hackett, I think I would put in my top 3 as well. But the question is who's your quarterback? And I agree with Jason. They can spin it all they want. They want Aaron Rodgers. And why not bring the guy that ran the offense for the last 2 years? And I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. But my number 3, probably Josh McDaniels. Because I think that he can, I think that offense is going to be really good. I think he can get a lot out of Derek Carr and what they do in the offseason on improving the roster. They brought in Patrick Graham. So, I mean, I think that defense can play really well. Again, if they do all they can to keep, the pieces in play. Like, the defense was really good last year, but hey, that was with Gus Bradley. It's a new DC this time around. But I hate Josh McDaniels the person, but I think that he can do a lot with the Raiders. It's gonna be tough though. It's a tough division.
I had him at 4, so I'm actually okay with that. I really
O'Connell.
like
the only reason I don't put O'Connell is because it's based on what we were talking about last week. He probably doesn't want Kirk Cousins, so there's a lot of question marks with that team.
He's going to bring in a quarterback, and that.
Yeah, but we don't know who that's going to be, so I can't really put him in my top 3. And McDaniel, I've actually warmed up on McDaniel. I think he can do a really good job. But again, 2 is not really the issue with that team. It's one of the concerns, but I don't think it's the
offensive line first.
The offensive line. And I don't think he's going to be able to do the things he did in San Francisco when you don't have Trent Williams at left tackle. And you don't have a veteran like Alex Mack.
I'm more excited for Jacobs here. I think that Jacobs will get a big bump with McDaniels at running the offense.
And what are they going to do with Kenyon Drake? That was a Gruden thing. And is he just going to become like a backup?
James White?
But could they? I was going to say, I don't think that's really what his strongest.
Not that great at that. But yeah, so what I've got here is I have Matt Eberflus at 2 just because he's been in this mix for so long. It feels as though there's something about him. And I know I prefer offensive hires. It just feels as though there's a vision here in Chicago, surprisingly, because I liked their GM hire, Ryan Poles from Kansas City as well. I don't know. Call me crazy.
I say I don't mean to be a salty bear. I'm not a Bears fan, but I could tell you, the Bears' vision seems like, oh, Matt Nagy, what a great vision he brought in, and that died off pretty quickly. And
no, I'm talking about the reset. But anyways, Doug Peterson 3 because of that acumen, that resume he has. And then it's kind of a tier with Kevin O'Connell at 4 for me, Mike McDaniel at 5, and Nathaniel Hackett at 6. But you can really rotate those guys either way because it's all the same young offensive mind. And you could throw Dayball in there technically too, but that situation just feels different from Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel, and Nathaniel Hackett. So they're one and the same. And then after that, I have the retreads. I have Josh McDaniels at 6, only because I'm excited to see what these new guys can do. McDaniels is putting together a very strong staff, but I'm cautious with Josh McDaniels. 7, Dennis Allen, because it didn't work out with the Raiders, and it's another retread. That's 8. And number 9, Lovie Smith, just because it seems as though the Texans are really in the long haul, rebuild, blow it up.
Yep, and it seems like it was like that last year when they brought in David Culley.
He should have kept David Culley on.
Poor David Culley.
He deserved it. David, the one thing we haven't talked about enough is David Culley exceeded expectations, should have been the head coach still. Davis Mills and David Culley should be running it back. The Oh, I love that. That just the oddest couple, the Neck and David Cully. Anyways, with Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos, they're going to have a new owner here soon, and it sounds as though the NFL is pushing for media mogul Byron Allen. He submitted a bid to buy the Broncos, and he would become the NFL's first black owner. And it sounds as though that's something the NFL has recognized they need to do. And there will be a lot of people that complain, why are we making this a race issue? It's because you need representation. You just do.
Yep.
It's a fact of the world.
I would love to hear like Mason or Neil, if how warm of
Thoughts
the
on
idea
it?
they'd be. No, their thoughts on if they bring in Byron Allen, getting rid of Elway. Just okay, you're still part of this franchise. Like, let's not forget what you did, but get out of the front office. Get out. Let somebody else in. Bring in Peyton Manning. Do something. Pay off Peyton Manning. Make him part of the ownership group.
There's a lot of things that the Broncos can do, and we will be checking in with Neil and Mason throughout the offseason. And not just with them, with probably every team and everyone on our staff talking about their favorite teams, everything they know. And speaking of that, the Colts have a new defensive coordinator, Jordan. Have you heard that?
I did hear that.
Gus Bradley.
Did you not hear me praise Gus Bradley when I was talking about the Raiders defense?
I was wondering if that was why or if that was a coincidence.
Let me just tell you one thing. Can I give you a little prediction?
Of course.
I'll hear what Jason's thoughts on this. Gus Bradley, every time one player that keeps following him around since he was in with the Chargers. And the Colts have an opening at outside corner. Don't be surprised to see Casey Hayward in a Colts uniform come next season. Because that's what they need. I think that'd be a perfect fit. And I mean, I know I ranted like a couple weeks ago, like, oh, they need this, they need that. I think that makes logical sense, just based on familiarity and need for the team.
They are besties.
Yeah. And they're bringing in, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I guess Gus Bradley's going to take either the corners coach or the secondary coach that was with him in Las Vegas with him to Indianapolis. So that will also help. But I'm excited for this. Let me just say he runs a similar offense to Eberflus, so there won't be any really big changes for the defensive guys to learn a new system. But I'm excited. I like this hire. I did like it.
Yeah. The one thing that he needs to do a little bit more is be flexible and run with two high safeties. He tends to get stuck in this cover one single high safety, but
well, he's not going to have an issue there because we don't have a safety that's going to be able to do that.
Eric Whittle, he's coming from the Rams.
Oh goodness, no!
They don't. No, I'm dead serious. They will not be able to do that because they don't have a safety. You know what, Julian Blackmon maybe, but he's coming off an Achilles tear, so you can't rely on that.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to do that in the AFC South against Ryan Tannehill and Davis Mills and Trevor Lawrence in his sophomore season compared to the AFC West when if you play single high safeties, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert are going to be dunking on you for the entire game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it ends up. And we'll just move right into it because, got to stick with the Chargers theme here. With 49ers hiring Anthony Lynn as an assistant head coach. Oh my gosh.
Well, this applies to both of you.
Oh, yeah, so annoying.
And then Jack, he comes
Detroit
from your
Lions
your
offensive coordinator, who has been replaced by Ben Johnson, the tight ends coach. Very predictable move because he basically helped Dan Campbell do that in Detroit.
Ben Johnson as in like Aichida.
No, not the Ben Johnson that took steroids and got his medal taken away in the NFL. Not that Ben Johnson.
Boy.
But he replaces Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn becomes the assistant head coach in San Francisco, which I think is perfect for him. Let him deal with the players. Let him coach the running backs because he's a great guy. Everyone loves Anthony Lynn, the person. It's when he
not as a head coach.
Not as a head coach and not as an offensive
that's a little biased.
You think?
Oh, I don't think. I know it.
Golly. There's so many things about Anthony Lynn when it comes to him being a head coach that's frustrating. great as a running backs coach. This will probably be a good option since they really love the running backs in 49er land here. But man,
And this was
lost
preemptive too.
seasons.
Like they made this move before McDaniel was officially out the door. So I'm guessing they knew
Oh yeah.
that he was gone and made this move just to have a successor.
Yeah, because Mike McDaniel, before he was the offensive coordinator, he was also the run game coordinator because they used to run it separate. It was Mike LaFleur, the passing game coordinator. Now he's the OC for the Jets. Mike McDaniel, the run game coordinator. And the Giants have a whole new offensive staff as well. Offensive coordinator, former quarterback Mike Kafka, and then brought in the craziest defense that I've ever seen. If you're a fan of defensive points and turnovers and sacks, the Giants actually might be sneaky this year because Don Wink Martindale is going to be the defensive coordinator. And we remember him with the Ravens. He has all these exotic blitzes. And they're pairing him with defensive line coach Rob Ryan, who is probably the most insane blitz coordinator in the NFL, often to terrible results. But that's what he specializes in. And same with former NFL linebacker and linebacker coach Brian Cox. So be ready for a lot of sacks and turnovers, and also be ready for a lot of terrible gaffes by this defense.
Well, I mean, but you have Daboll there to have Daniel Jones and this great offensive mind with Mike Kafka actually able to work with Jones here and really see what he can pull and if he can have any kind of hope moving the ball. They can easily just rely on their offense like they were already doing and then try and get as many turnovers as possible with their defense. And it'll be fine. It'll make them look really good on paper.
Just get Azeez Ojulari some help. The man had 14 sacks with absolutely nothing around him. Get him some help. And now, what else do we have here? A lot of little moves around the NFL. Aaron Glenn is going to stay on as the defensive coordinator for the Lions, hoping that Aubrey Pleasant stays as well, the DB's coach. He's interviewing with the Vikings. Packers, they've got a new special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia, and they're
This
also
is a match-
frustrating.
What's that?
It's just so frustrating.
Why?
This man did so much for that Raiders team.
Okay. He
And the
deserved
fact that
better.
he's now as a special teams coordinator, it's the best job he could get, is extremely frustrating. Like,
You know, I'm not
he's
going
a player's coach.
I'm
through
not
and
going to
through.
discount what he did with the Raiders. I think it was special, but I think he was maybe a little bit over his head. Like, I don't know. And you know what? These teams, he got interviews, and like, if he was something special, team would have kept him on. But I think this was a match made in heaven, considering how poor the special teams were for Green Bay, and it was on display in their last game. So him going here, I think that was a perfect.
That's what I
match.
thought Jason was so upset about was, hey, do you really hate the Packers that much?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't deserve.
Well, I was weird too. I was like, okay, he's out of the AFC West. Why are you complaining? If you think that highly of him.
Oh, I think very highly of him. I think he deserved a better job. Like, he could have done so many different things anywhere else, and it's just, again, I'm glad he's out of the AFC West. 100%.
You know what? If he was
Definitely
going to
happy
be a
about that.
special teams coordinator, this was the best spot
This is
in my mind. Just because there's a massive need. It's for a team. Well, a team you would think would compete, but we got to figure out what's
Yeah,
the
we'll see
quarterback
how this ends
situation.
up.
Yeah, like so.
Yeah, we'll see how this ends up because Randall Cobb, he's expected to be cut. Same with Mercedes Lewis, the blocking tight end. So
You know what my favorite trivia question is? Who was the only first round pick that Aaron Rodgers has thrown a touchdown pass to? Answer? Mercedes Lewis.
oh goodness.
Now that will definitely change if he's in Denver because you can add Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant to that list, but that's
Until
actually
they're involved in the trade for Rodgers and
Oh,
Devontae
God.
Adams.
Well, I've seen a lot of that Jerry Jeudy and 3 first-round picks, but yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, Jerry Judy's not going anywhere. They love him way too much in Denver. And it looks like Joe Judge is back in New England with Bill Belichick. And it looks like Paul Pasqualoni, who was Matt Patricia's best friend in Detroit, he is now the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. And these are both just Joe Judge. He's young. We can give him the benefit of the doubt that Belichick can at least help him grow up a little bit and evolve as a coach. But Pasqualoni should not be a defensive coordinator. This is insane.
I don't know
Well,
enough about him, but you
I
you
feel like
do.
they're
He
tanking
was the
already.
Lions' defensive coordinator.
No,
under
I
Matt
know,
Patricia.
and
That's
and
all you need to know. All he does is play man coverage, no matter who he has. So Carolina Panthers are going to be a team to target this season against.
Do you think that their defense will, like, they got corners like Henderson? Like, I don't know how good Henderson will be, but they traded for him. I think it was kind of a dump off for the Jaguars, and then they have J.C. Horn. I think there's potential there. I'm not saying it's going to pan out, but
Yeah,
and then also kind of a retread that they brought back Steve Wilkes in a lesser position for the Panthers.
yeah, that's the thing. They should have just made Steve Wilkes the defensive coordinator. That would have been fine. He spent 6 years there. He was the defensive coordinator there after was it after or before they got rid of the Buffalo head coach Sean McDermott.
I think Steve Wilkes replaced him. That's who.
So it should have made him the defensive coordinator. Teams do stupid things all of the time. Unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've had a lot of transition this offseason. Ben Roethlisberger retired. We need to figure out who's going to replace him.
Malik Willis.
I think it's going to be Malik Willis too. They lost their defensive coordinator, Keith Butler, and they've promoted from within Terrell Austin, the secondary coach and the former Lions defensive coordinator and former Ravens secondary coach. Now he's going to be calling the shots, which is great because he was getting head coach talk 2 years ago until everyone forgot about him, because that's what happens about two minority coaches, as they were
like Chris Richard.
Like Chris Richard, exact same thing as Chris Richard. They are two peas in a pod, Chris Richard and Terrell Austin. But Pittsburgh Steelers made the correct decision, and they're casting a wide net on their general manager search, which is good. Louis Riddick, the ESPN employee and former Eagles scout, is interviewing. Same with Morocco Brown, who I'm sure Jordan is not ready to lose from the.
Hey, you know, wait. If they're gonna keep one of them, I don't see Ed Dodds anymore. You know, he's a candidate too. Can't have both. You can only have one. Well, actually, who knows? Maybe one of them gets hired and they take the other. But you were reporting that it could be somebody else.
Yeah, it does sound as though it will be another internal hire, and another correct decision if it is the case. Either Omar Khan, the vice president of football and business administration, or Brandon Hunt, the pro scouting coordinator, or it could be both. One could be the GM, one could be an equal. The Steelers always find solutions to these kinds of problems. They are a well-run organization. Expect them to make the right decision, just like the Tennessee Titans, because they gave their coach and GM a well-earned extension. Both John Robinson and Mike Vrabel will be in Tennessee for the foreseeable future, as will Ryan Grigson in Minnesota. We saved the best for last, Jordan. Ryan Grigson is going to the front office of the Vikings.
I don't know. You set that up for me thinking I get angry. I don't really care. Like, they could have him. He's been in front offices since he left the Colts. Like, he was with the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. And I think he might have done some consulting work, but who knows? You know what? Like, I'm not going to rally for this guy to get a second chance. Maybe he will, but just the way he ran the Colts, not into the ground, but he ran Aaron Luck into the ground. And he did it with incompetence and arrogance. But you know what? He's not making the football decision. So, I mean, if he's able to bring some guidance or anything to help their new GM, then I don't think it's that bad of a decision. I don't know how much influence he will actually have, but having a former GM probably doesn't hurt.
No, it probably doesn't. But Ryan Grigson is the exception to my second chance rule. You don't get to ruin Andrew Luck, Hall of Fame potential quarterback. You don't get to ruin him and then just act like everything is fine. No, I'm not accepting that from Ryan Grigson.
Now, see, if this was 2 years ago, and this would have happened, you probably would have got a better response out of me. But I've accepted the
You've
loss.
matured as a person.
Yes, I have.
Well,
I mean, the Andrew Luck stuff still haunts me, but Rick Grigson, I don't care about.
it does sound as though the Vikings are making good decisions, though. We know Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is the general manager. We know Kevin O'Connell is going to be the head coach. And it sounds as though Seahawks defensive assistant Ed Donatel is the favorite to become the defensive coordinator.
So I don't know what goes behind the scenes with this, but like, why would he be the favorite? Considering how bad the Seahawks defense was. And it wasn't just bad. It was awful.
I think it's a lot of just the shared circles type of thing.
Must be.
We see a lot, especially in the NFC West. They're probably the worst division for it, but all the coaches there know each other. They all work together. They bounce back and forth between the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers all the time. So I'd imagine that's it.
That makes sense.
That's and same reason Aubrey Pleasant, the defensive backs coach for the Lions, he's in the running because he was a former Rams defensive coach. And there's a couple other names here: former Bears DC Sean Desai, Ravens defensive line coach Anthony Weaver as well, and the Broncos running back coach Curtis Modkins has been hired as their new running backs coach, which seems pretty good. He did pretty good work with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon this past year, so good on him.
Now he gets Delvin Cook to work with.
Yeah, and good on
Kene
the
and
Atlanta.
Wansu.
What's that?
And Kene.
Kene Wongwu. Yes, indeed.
I'm excited for that, more importantly.
What are you more
That'll be some
excited for,
fun.
him, or are you more excited for Irv Smith?
Well, see, I'm actually curious if he's going to be healthy. That's
Okay,
been
I was
his
going to say
issue.
Irv Smith / Tyler Conklin, because that is true.
Yeah, I mean, it's a running backs coach.
I
so
want to know if Tyler
more
Conklin,
better at blocking.
which tight end this season, we're going back to tight ends, which tight end is going to be overdrafted this year based on their previous season? Tyler Conklin, I think, has a chance to be up there. I think Dalton Schultz.
Dawson
Schultz
Knox.
is the answer.
Yeah,
And
just
Dawson
I didn't
Knox.
realize. I did not know this, that he was tight end 3 this year.
Schultz.
Yeah.
PPR.
And well, yeah.
Okay. I want to making
That's
sure.
that's insane. I don't know. That says everything. Like what Mason's saying, a ball's to tight end position. That you could have got just Dalton Schultz for nothing.
Schultz is going to be this year's Austin Hooper, where he just disappears.
You know what? No, I like. You know what? I like better the Gary Barnidge Award.
At least
That-
Schultz is young.
Yeah, that
But
helps.
no, but just a tight end that just has a magnificent season and then just falls off. That was another one. Higbee was another one. Not this season, but the season before, when he had that massive stretch where he had like ridiculous numbers, and then everybody drafted him to be like. Logan Thomas was kind of that for me. That I was thinking going in, it'd be unfair to call him that just because he had dealt with injury. But Logan Thomas was my candidate for that. This season, now I'm thinking it's probably be Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz is going to be Austin Hooper in the sense he's going to get a massive free agent contract for a team that doesn't know how to use him.
Well, again, I think when you're looking at Dalton Schultz, wow. The whole thing that you're really looking at is who's healthy as a wide receiver, because he disappeared there for a stretch
Well,
when
he's a
all the
free
wide
agent,
receivers
though.
when all the wide receivers were available.
There's
So,
no way he's back either with Blake Jarwin on
Yeah,
that
they
massive
won't be able.
contract.
They won't be able to afford him.
Yeah. And Michael Gallup, a free agent too. Dallas Cowboys they're in for some changes.
And you know what? And so is Cedric Wilson. I know that's not as big, but that's another wide receiver you're not going to have.
That actually might be big because news coming out of the Senior Bowl is buzzing about Cedric Wilson that he could surprise end up in the $4 to $5 million a year range at wide receiver.
he definitely deserves it. I mean, I would compare him to Gabe Davis. I mean, that's one of those players that really just he pops when you need him to, and he's going to be that reliable person that comes in and a lot of people don't expect it, but is very beneficial for your offense.
I would compare more to like someone like Mohamed Sanu, who's steady, kind of give you a little bit of extra dimension. You can throw the ball if you want to throw off a trick play, but not like you can't rely on him to be a consistent wide receiver too. 3 range, yes. Maybe some games he'll have a game or two, but that's my comparison.
Well, and Mohamed Sanu's former teammate Calvin Ridley is going to have the option to decide his own future, which is good on the Falcons. They want him back, obviously. They love the person, they love the talent, but they acknowledge it is Calvin's decision whether he wants to start over somewhere fresh or if he wants to return to Atlanta. So we'll see what happens there. We wish Calvin Ridley the best in his return to football. And we'll see what happens in the Super Bowl. Because I don't know if you've been paying attention or not, but football's over on Sunday until we get to the USFL.
No, you know what? That's not true because, you know what? Once the Super Bowl ends, the second after it ends, we have a finalized draft order, and that's when we get mock draft season.
Woo!
And you know, Jack, you're going to be all excited to talk about that 32 and 33 pick for the Lions. A little double dip. As you can tell, I'm picking the Rams to win.
Well, and it's also the 32 and 34 pick in that case still because the Jaguars.
Oh, it's not so. Oh, I thought they had 33. Oh, you might be right. Yeah. But whatever. You know, it's. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just shut up now.
Because of the tie, if they had the same record, they would switch.
Yeah.
But Lions are a game ahead. So Rams to win the Super Bowl. Are they going to cover the 4 points that they're currently giving the Bengals?
See,
thank you, Simpsons, for the 4 points.
My head says yeah. No, sorry. My heart says that they will cover. My head says no. Because I think that Raheem Morris is going to, you know, suffocate Joe Burrow in the pocket. And Joe Burrow is going to have to play out of his mind in order to win this game. I think it's possible. Like I wrote them off against the Chiefs. I didn't think they had a chance, and you guys proven wrong. But I don't know, man. I think just it's the Rams. Once they beat the 49ers, like I just think this is a team of destiny, just who they have. It just seems like one of those teams that you feel like should win. And I felt the same way with the Bucs last year when they had not just Brady, but it was like Sue, and it was, you know, like having
home field advantage.
Yeah, like things like that. So I don't know. I just think the Rams will win. But I won't be disappointed. Don't get me wrong. If the Bengals win, I'll be happy for them.
I just want it to be a fun game. I want it to be high scoring, and I'm more excited for the halftime show than anything else.
Oh, goodness, yes.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. It's going to be a blast.
It has the potential to be the... I don't want to hype expectations too high, but it could be the best Super Bowl halftime show of all time coming up this weekend. I will disagree with Jordan, and it's simply because Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. It's why
you knew
Tom
it was
Brady...
coming, Jason. You knew it was coming.
It's why Tom Brady retired. Tom Brady knew that Joe Burrow was coming for him as the next one.
He knew, Tom Brady knew that he could offload Gronk somewhere. Yeah. That's so.
Aaron Donald is going to make Joe Burrow just suffer.
Turn him into mincemeat.
It's going to be pretty for him.
Throw him into the ground.
Joe Burrow's going to get up, smile, and throw a touchdown.
I seriously think,
and get picked off by Eric Weddle.
Unless that offensive line just miraculously gets better in these 2 weeks leading up, Aaron Donald is a sneaky good bet. And I don't want to tread on the locked in guys, but Aaron Donald's a sneaky good bet for Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, especially because we know this is a narrative-based award as well, not just an on-the-field award. So, Aaron Donald.
If he wins the Super Bowl, I think that's a lock for, and I think he could already be, but I think that's a lock for Hall of Fame. He's got the title.
He's already a lock.
He's got the exactly, but like, there's no
having that star definitely helps.
Having that Super Bowl victory just like is icing on the cake.
Yeah. The Michael Strahan effect is what we'll call it.
And if he wins Super Bowl MVP, there's just like
Yeah, Aaron Donald though, I think he's already has the most defensive player of the year ever. Maybe he's tied with JJ
No,
Watt.
yeah, I was to say him and JJ Watt. I don't know how much LT got.
I think they're
but
both tied with 3, and I think LT
Yeah.
might have
'Cause
2, maybe 3.
I know that they both have 3. You're right.
Yeah, but either way, we're gonna be happy because
Yeah,
both teams deserve this.
Well, the Rams really deserve it, but yeah, I'm excited for. I'm excited for either team.
It's the most likably quarterbacked Super Bowl
Yeah.
of all time.
I really want, because of it's your old quarterback, I really want Stafford. He's gone through it all. He needs this win, and he's deserving of a ring here. After suffering so long with the Lions, having this opportunity is just so awesome for him.
Well, you've heard from at that FF nerd Jason Draven. You've heard from at Donald McJordan, Jordan McDonald. And you've heard from me at Javanaugh87, Jack Kavanaugh. Before we head out, any pluggables to plug, guys?
Nope, just keep following along in Important Nonsense. We got a lot of cool things coming even after football season, and we'll be excited to bring draft coverage. I'm excited for the draft. I mean, I already brought mock draft season. My favorite time of the year.
Yeah, and I've seen that we're starting to do like PGA stuff, which I'm excited to look at. And more importantly, I'm excited for me because March Madness is coming up, and I am pumped for some college basketball. So, I'm just ready.
Sorry, Jason. I do want to plug one thing. I should have done it last week. We want to, as an entire podcast / live stream, we want to congratulate Fred VanVleet on his first All-Star selection.
Yeah, we do.
Deserving of it. We are.
And his engagement.
Yep, that's true. Things are looking up for Fred VanVleet. Bet on yourself.
What is he, the 6th undrafted player to become an All-Star ever?
I think it might be
6th or the 9th, I think.
No, I think it might be 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's higher up, but yeah.
I think it might be 5th.
I'm excited for him.
I'll have to double check that, but I think it's 5th.
Regardless, congratulations, Fred VanVleet. Check out the Important Nonsense podcast. We would love to have you in our Discord, Fred, or anyone else out there as well.
Definitely going to tweet at him with this now. Just letting him know that we are the lone fantasy football content creators here that support him 100%, and make sure to give him that plug.
We are the fantasy football podcast of Fred VanVleet. And until we talk to Fred VanVleet, until we connect with him, or just until we see you later, we'll see you next time.